Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين نستعين ونستغفره ونؤمن به عز وجل نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله له لا شريك له وحده ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه Ijma'in, which means in English, all the praises due to Allah, who is the guardian, evolver, sustainer, cherisher of all the systems of knowledge, or some say all the worlds. It is He that is almighty and sublime, and we witness that there is nothing worthy of worship except Him, no God but Him, Allah, one and alone, with no partners. And we witness that Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the prayers and peace of Allah be upon him, is His servant and His messenger, and the prayers be upon him and his family and his companions, all of them, and what follows of that excellent salutation. This is our greeting, which we typically deliver in Arabic. I'm very pleased to be filling in for the Imam Talib Sharif of our community, and you heard the Adhan called by a wonderful brother, Imam Yusuf Salim. We all have been here a while. As I reflect back on the historic nature of this edifice that we are pleased to worship in, and this territory, I used to sell fish in these streets for Muhammad's Temple number 4. This was my fish area. And we used to sell a lot of fish over there in Sursum Corda, the projects over there. Now, if you could stay out of trouble and dodge the drug boys around the first of the month, you could sell some products. So here we are with a return to the community. So it's very, I would say, faithful, serendipitous, providential that we are back here. Today, I'd like to speak upon or reflect with you upon a theme that is sort of weighty, But what we're trying to do is to make sense and make productive out of some of the awful news that we see and hear today, every day. The first part of the khutbah is generally devoted to the glorification of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, as if he needs glorification. You know, he doesn't need that, that's for us. And when we think of Allah, most of us, we like to think of the macro. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, and even to this day, when I think of Allah, I think of the expanse of the universe. I mean, we don't know the end of it. We don't know the beginning. It's just huge. We look out, we see the stars, we see the constellations, and we're amazed. But I recently heard a brother talk, and I was moved by what he said. And I want to start with what he said about Allah. Allah expands, but Allah also contracts. We sometimes deal with the finest pieces of matter, and we go deeper and deeper and deeper into the atom. And what do we see in the atom? We see universes in the atom. We see quarks and nanocules, things that are so small, but what are they doing? They're really rotating around the center, and they exist only for a fraction of a millisecond, and then they're gone. And this brings to mind a couple of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is, among other things, Al-Latif. Al-Latif, one of the most beautiful attributes of Allah. I studied with some Sufis, and the Sufis love this attribute. They can say it all night. Ya Latif, Ya Latif, or Allahu Latif, Allahu Latif, Allahu Latif, that RT. Because Al-Latif means the subtle. It means the completely imperceptible. So small you can't see it. But our hearts are dependent upon it. We don't force our hearts to beat, do we? We don't force our stomachs to engage in digestion, do we? These functions are attributable to Al-Latif. And Al-Latif is also coupled with the other attribute, frequently Al-Khabir. Al-Khabir means someone who is informed now and forever. He has extensive, infinite knowledge about everything. Most of us think of Al-Kabir, a K-I-B-I-R, with the K, but Al-Khabir has the K-H, the Kha, and it's a different dimension. So Allah is not only Al-Kabir, Allahu Akbar, but he is Al-Khabir, and so he is internal. I don't know how many of y'all saw Men in Black. You remember Men in Black with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones? Great movie. It has some, just like a lot of things, it's entertaining, but when you look at it hard, and especially with an Islamic eye, you see things that are important. You remember in one of the episodes, the aliens were going to invade like the way these other aliens were behaving, and they were on Earth. And they said, you got to find the galaxy. The galaxy is on, was the name? The galaxy is on, yes, the ring of Orion, Orion's ring. Now, we know the constellation Orion. You look up, it's beautiful, right? You see the 3 stars in the belt, ding, ding, ding. And then they point to the mighty star, Sirius, which is the brightest star in the sky. A lot of people think Sirius is a planet. It's so bright. It twinkles. It's a star. But there is on Orion's belt a constellation. On Orion, there's a constellation. There's a galaxy there. So everybody was saying, well, wait a minute. If these aliens are looking for what's on Orion's belt, how are we going to get there? We got to launch a spaceship. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But we find out in the movie that Orion is the name of a cat. And Orion has on his neck it wouldn't be a belt, it would be a collar. And on that collar is a big marble. And they do a close-up and close-up and close-up and close-up of that marble. And inside that marble is a solar system. It's everything, just on a smaller, super microscopic scale. And when it's revealed like that, the character says, see, you human beings don't know anything. You think you know everything, but you have no idea how the universe really works. And I'm like, subhanallah bihamdi. We think we know a lot. Allah has told us that we have limited knowledge, but when the reality or the next level of reality is revealed to us, all we can do is marvel. And those of us who are believers, we say, Alhamdulillah. When is the next mystery going to be unfolded? So we look outward to see the manifestation of Allah, but we also need to look inward. And here we come to really the subject of this talk, which is be of good cheer. Don't worry. We're on the winning team. Why are we on the winning team? Well, we'll come to that in a minute, but I want to talk about this one other attribute called Al-Qarib. You know, Allah is everywhere, but he's also with us. He is nearer to us than our jugular vein. Now, the vein carries the blood from the head back to the heart, but the carotid artery is the one that carries the blood from the heart to the upper extremities. And when that's severed, it's over. And the whole thing is sort of generically referred to the jugular vein. So that's how close Allah is to us. So although, we marvel at his grandeur and his greatness, even so, we can even marvel more at his closeness to us. So how do we become successful? Why is it good news? All this bad news that we've got. Well, I could say, and I don't want to risk being controversial, but it's just the word, it's in the Quran. We are part of the Hizbullah, not Hezbollah. No, not Hezbollah. Hizbullah. They have anglicized Hizbullah into Hezbollah. Hizbullah simply means the party of the people who are with Allah, the party of the people who are with his prophet. And I'm not ashamed to say that we follow what has been documented by historians, scholars, and everyone. We follow the most influential single figure in human history, Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not only is his uswa, his character, his comportment, his behavior exemplary, but his model was exemplary. He is the only spiritual leader who was also a governor. In other words, he led in the spiritual and the secular level supremely. So it is no disgrace to say, yes, Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's my man. He is the one, because he established a community. I mean, he not only was uh, a leader, he was a father. He had responsibilities. He had to go out. He had to listen to people. He had to counsel people. He had to deal with governments. He had to deal with treaties. And we should be encouraged by his history, everything in his history, including the hard times that he suffered. We just finished the month of Rajab with its challenges, but it's also its great lessons. And we are soon upon the month of Ramadan. Ramadan will put us back to the training table so we can do what we have to do. Right now, though, I just want to concentrate on sort of bringing Allah into us, not looking outward. And one way, of course, for us to do this, and I don't know about you, but some of the great escapes from the madness of today. I mean, the news is crazy. People getting shot at celebrations, people getting shot when they go out to their cars, carjackings. There are going to be harder laws. But I like what Prince George's County Police Chief Malik Aziz, first is Muslim, American Muslim police chief in the country, probably, and he's got a huge jurisdiction. You know what he says? He says, we cannot police ourselves out of the situation. We can't legislate and pass laws and no. Families, mothers, fathers have to start taking responsibility and bring up these children, and the community has to go together and get these kids in line after they get themselves in line, of course. So what brings it home to me is the ability to go down on this prayer rug and lay my head and pass the problems of the world, personal problems, all the problems that I have and that we have into the earth, back to Allah. And what a wonderful convention we have in our Salah. It is incomparable, and that's what, of course, we're known for. So I'm going to go into the second part of the khutbah after a little break, and inshallah, suggest some verses and some strategies so that we know that we are on the winning side. هو الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. Many times in the history of the Prophet and the general prophets, not just Muhammad but other prophets, may Allah be pleased with all of them, they had tremendous obstacles. And Allah says in the Quran that the apostles even, and those who assisted them would say, wow, when comes the help of Allah? This is too much. We don't have anywhere to turn. But Allah always had their backs. In the cave, when the Prophet ﷺ was fleeing from the would-be murderers of Mecca, he had the spider weave his web. In many of the battles that the Prophet ﷺ fought, Allah protected him and protected the believers. But of course, they had to learn some lessons. So we're on the winning team. But part of this talk has to be, I guess, sort of a reflection of last week and the week up to it. We had a big event called the Super Bowl. I don't know whether your team was there. If you were from Philly, your team wasn't there. If you were from Washington, after the Commanders won 3 games, I think, out of the first 4 games, and I heard playoffs, somebody. Playoffs. They have a long way to go. You know what I believe? I believe that the Native Americans who prayed so hard for the prior ownership to divest itself of that racist name, I believe that the kind of, if you will, not necessarily curse, but the spiritual energy that they put on that team is still with them. And if you look at the word commanders, it's so empty. It's just like the Pentagon without people or something. I don't know. I hope they come up with a better name. But a lot of people had high stakes in that name. I heard on the radio that 600 private jets flew into Las Vegas. Somebody's making money, right? 600 private jets flew into Las Vegas. And it was a good game as those games go. But the team that won, the Kansas City Chiefs, they were down at halftime. They look almost as bad as the Ravens look. Poor Ravens. We love Baltimore, and we love the spirit of that city. Maybe next year the team can ride that spirit on further into the playoffs. But you're going to lose some. Losing is part of winning. The only people who don't lose are the people who don't do anything. And it always gets me. People always talk about, Tiger Woods, he's washed up. And so, or an entertainer, she's washed up. Her voice is gone, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Those people are inside the ropes. They are doing it. You are outside criticizing while they are building, while they are performing. So I'm always conscious of that when I do criticize. It's a privilege that you have because somebody else is doing the work. Well, this community is on the move. Not everything we do is going to be perfect. Not every move we're going to make is going to be beautifully choreographed. But the spirit of the community, the spirit of moving ahead, the spirit of serving, the spirit of excellence, the spirit of growth and development is alive and well in the community. Everybody loves a winner. I mean, who doesn't love a winner? That's the whole thing about, the Super Bowl and all this stuff. Everybody wants to be a winner. Hey, there's one man in our country who loves being a winner so much that even though he's a loser and lost, he insists that he's a winner. That's how bad people worship winners around here. Even if you're not a winner, make believe you were, and then maybe you'll be a winner. I just had the privilege of funeralizing my late uncle, Lieutenant Colonel Richard Vernon White, Sr., at Arlington. wife and I had never been to a funeral at Arlington. But I'm telling you, they pulled out the stops. It was one of the most moving ceremonies I've ever seen, ever had the privilege of seeing. After they played the hymns and they played the Miracle, the Beautiful, they had a band there, a field band, and everybody, those guys were tall, they were built, snapping to attention from just taking the little steps to take the casket out to the honor guard, and then the 21 gun salute. And the chaplain who gave the eulogy for my uncle said something that I shall not ever forget. And I had worked with veterans programs in the Office of Personnel Management, OPM. I was in that division. And we had a lot of contact with a group called the Order of the Purple Heart, as well as the Disabled American Veterans, the DAV. But she said something. She said, she was reciting my late uncle's medals. She said he had earned the Bronze Star. He was in the Korean conflict and earned a medal for Korea. He earned a medal for the United Nations. But above all, he earned the Purple Heart, which means that he shed his blood for his country. He shed his blood for this country. Whew, that just hit me with like a ton of bricks. Because I was supposed to be in Vietnam, and I was like everybody else in my class, 1970, who had a low draft number, was doing what we could to make sure we didn't have to go to those rice paddies and jungles. The smart guys enlisted, so they had some choice of what to do. Right? But if you had just a number and you're going to be drafted, I never will forget the report I got. Greetings. You are hereby ordered to report for induction into the Armed Forces of the United States of America. Draft board number 3, so-and-so address, boom, that's it. I'm saying, what? They ordered me? How can they do that? So I talked to my parents and they said, well, son, you know. I said, where's all y'all's militancy and everything? It evaporated. But as it happened, I didn't have to go. So as we see, the best defense against criticism and against whatever, laziness, the best bad habits, the best defense against any opposing factor is an offense. So you put your offense on the field. Now, sports are sports, but they teach us a lesson. What was the strategy of the Chiefs? Actually, it was probably San Francisco, but their strategy didn't work out after the second half. Keep Mahomes off the field. The guy, keep that offense off the field. And you know when Kansas City got the ball with a minute and 49 seconds in overtime, that was too much because the Chiefs have such a powerful offense. Put your offense on the field. Put your team on the field. We have in this community 2 major projects going on. The Clara on Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. And there are a couple of things I want to commend to you. There's a book called Clara Muhammad, Mother of the Nation. There are 2 books, parts 1 and 2. These are, from my money and experience, the best. This is the best literature that's ever been written about this community, about the community of first the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and quite a quite a few passages are about Fard Muhammad, the mysterious person who came in 1930 and started teaching and left in 33, never to be seen publicly again. But the late Dr. Zakiya Muhammad did us a great favor by writing these two books, part 1 and part 2, on Clara Muhammad. May Allah be pleased with her, grant her the highest place in heaven. She basically kept the community alive. How? By being a mother. The power of motherhood. You don't need to be a part of any women's lib or anything else. Just be a mother. Do your job. Be a wife and a mother. Be a mate. And she kept Elijah propped up, and Elijah elevated and went on to help to found the schools. You remember back in those days, well, they tried to arrest everybody because they wanted the Muslim kids to go to the inferior schools in Chicago and also where Lisa. Clara said, no, you have to peel my dead hands. I'm reminded of the guy with the guns. Who was it? Charles Heston, from these dead hands, right? Well, Clara said that about the doorknob. She says, I'll be dead as this doorknob before you take these kids out of my house and put them in public school. Of course, they didn't lock her up. They locked her husband up, and they locked all the people up, so many of the brothers. And it attests to the miracle that is this community. It is only by Allah's grace that we came through that and survived. You know, J. Edgar Hoover basically declared war on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said, there be no more Marcus Garveys. We don't want any black heroes, no black salvation. So he did everything to wipe the Honorable Elijah Muhammad out. And meanwhile, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was on the other side of town talking about the white devils. But he also had Caucasians at his dinner table. So we know that was political. It wasn't the reality. But Sister Clara Muhammad has been underappreciated, even vilified. And here in Washington, D.C., we will soon have, after March 8th. March 8th is the ribbon cutting over in Southeast. And when you go over there and see the ground floor and the 81 units that have been constructed, you will say, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah. Is this, and it's real. It's real progress. It's wonderful to have, sermons and even flyers and literature and everything else, but it's another thing to have an edifice, a building. Oh boy. But I think if we were in the wrong place, that building might be bombed straight. You know how lucky we are? I live near Andrews Air Force Base, and I looked up. Those jets, they come by, and I just think to myself, I'm glad they're ours. But those jets are being misused. Our money is being misused. I commend to you Bernie Sanders' video on YouTube, those of you who have the courage to look at it. Just look at that. It'll tell you a lot. I can't tell you what he can. He's in the Senate, but he knows what he's talking about. We have the renovation and expansion going on. It's taken a long time for us to start improving our masjid. When the developers saw the masjid and started tearing down the walls, they noticed how sturdy those walls were. Those walls were built by masons and volunteers, but they were pros in their own right who knew what they were doing, who knew how to put up a structure that would last. We just have outgrown it. And so now we are in a very sort of a fragile, delicate time of transition where we have to sort of make pilgrimage, as it were, or yes, to another place. And we are very thankful and grateful for the warm, hospitable, and accommodating reception we've received from Father Bava and his staff here at Holy Redeemer. And this Holy Redeemer Catholic Church. If that's not a lesson, I don't know what is. You know, a lot of us are quick to criticize, these so-called Kafirs, Christians and Jews and other people who don't want to be Muslims. Don't do that. That's wrong. That's ignorant. Your religion is a religion. Our religion is religion where all believers are venerated. And Allah says, if I wanted you all to believe the same way, I'd have done it with a wave of my hand. No, compete you one another for good deeds and righteousness. And in the end, I'll tell you who's the winner. But if we have in our hearts the sincerity and the goodness and the love that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he exhibited, we won't have to worry about any bitterness or any hatred, and we will learn ourselves out of all the ignorance that puts us at odds with people of other walks toward the ultimate reality, who is Allah. We're also having a fundraiser on the 2nd of March. So the fundraiser is on Saturday, and then the groundbreaking will be on the following Friday. We'll have Jumah at the Clara. There's enough space for there. You know, there's going to be a restaurant there, a Sweet Tooth restaurant. I thought it was going to be a little eat-in cafe or whatever. No, they got as much floor space as a museum. We'll be able to sit down, have a halal meal, maybe some candlelight. Allahu Akbar. Eat with your friends. And then the fundraiser on the Saturday will feature New York City Councilman Yusuf Salam. We heard Yusuf Salam speak at the Time to Be Grateful banquet. He was dynamic. You know, Yusuf Salam is one of the Central Park Five, one of the ones that Trump says, I think, they should be killed. All of them. All premature and everything. Those boys were tortured into confessing, so-called confession. I mean, when the police get you and they have their agenda, all you want to do is get out. So you'll say anything, especially if you're young. They have changed the laws a lot now, but this brother was unlawfully detained, unlawfully prosecuted, unlawfully sentenced, the whole ball of wax. Fortunately, there are some people who understand how the system of justice should work. And of course, after the 8th, there's another fundraiser which the developer of the Clara, Banneker Ventures, and Brother Omar Kareem are sponsoring. That's going to be at Martin's Crosswind. That's a big money thing, right? Fundraiser at Martin's Crosswind. So we are in a competition, and we are, while it's not organized in the big planets, in the scheme of things, it is organized. We have a team effort. Some people may have a solo part, like you see in a chorus, but you remember there's no I in the word team. And that's what's so beautiful about team. Yes, the man used to smiling because that's one of his favorite friends. And it's true. Yeah, a team is good, you know, because offensive guy gets upset, He can't wait to get back on the field, but the defensive guy got to cover it, right? Have you ever been in a band, a musician, and, the musician next to you is not on it? And you might stop and say, well, let me help you with this passage. Because everybody has to be on it. And when you have all four music, I was listening to some Bob Marley the other day, I Don't Want to Wait in Vain. These musicians, the Wailers, were just so in tune, so on the same vibe. It's just a wonderful assimilation of talent, heart, spirit. So we're inside the ropes. We're getting the reward. Allah says, well, who's going to get more reward? Those who sit at home or those who go out and spend their lives and property in my cause? I commend everybody here who's on post. Everybody's doing a little extra duty. It takes time to set up here. It takes time to break down from here. And I urge all of us to be patient. We're going to have our community meeting will be virtual. I believe it's going to be virtual. That is over the internet. So you'll get the coordinates to log in. And I have to say, having been at this military funeral, I have a little idea of why our imam is like he is. He spent 30 years in the Air Force. He retired as a Chief Master Sergeant. E9. They don't give those out. You got to earn those. Those are rare. So he appreciates organization. He appreciates discipline. He appreciates progress. And he has brought to our community management skills, something that we never had. We had preachers. We had prayers. We had people who could fire people up, but to manage people. Because people, you, me, believers, are the only resources really that the leader has. Organization, widgets, all that stuff doesn't count. What counts is you. What counts are people. So we need your help. We need contributions to our masjid fund. Because we're not in the masjid, we lose a little, of course, a lot, because people can't come and put it in the box. But the treasurer is there. She's ready for your generosity, for your sadaqah, for your zakat. And we ask you to dig a little extra deeper, because we're going a little deeper. We are on the high road. We are on the road of those who give, those who care, and those who, inshallah, will earn Allah's pleasure and finish up as winners. Akim as-salat.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Now, please silence your cell phones. We're ready? Everybody ready? Allahu Akbar. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والحاسين والحاسيات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا وذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جاء النصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Takbir. Takbir.
So, dear brothers and sisters, please join us. We're going to make for the death of our brother, passing of our brother Khatib. All right. We're praying into our prayer. We know there's no prostration, and it's 4 parts. Then ask. Yes, say it again. Okay, there are some announcements happening. Sisters and brothers can join us. Just saying. All right. Khalid Khan.
This is for Brother Khalid.
Yes, that's correct. Khalid Khan. All right. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
That's some very important announcements. So please stick around to hear these announcements, especially as pertain to Jumah next week. Assalamualaikum. Alhamdulillah. Thank the Honorable Judge for giving us what is good for our minds, our body, and our soul. Alhamdulillah. Allah continue to bless you. First things first now. Please don't leave now. Next week, next Friday, the Jumah of next week. We know we're in transition and we're trying to find a place where we can be more sustainable in terms of sticking with one location. Next week, the location changed from this historical location to another historical location. And that will be the John Wesley AME Zion Church, 1615 14th Street Northwest. Next Friday, the 23rd. We're here at least 3 Fridays at Holy Redeemer. Then we have to make a transition to another church, which is John Wesley. This is history and its progress. Now, John Wesley, like this church, has a great history. You're talking about 1849 that it was built. You're talking about that this church that we're going to was used as a facility for free blacks. Remember that now, for free blacks it was used, 1855, 1864, 1865. You're talking about a church now, present day, 1914, but in 1923, they had a funeral. No, Marcus Garvey spoke there to about a crowd of 2,000. So come on, listen up now. Please be there for Jumah. Very historical. 1945, guess what else happened there? Mr. Franklin Delaware Roosevelt spoke there to a capacity audience. And in 1963, funeral of Medgar Evers. Rich history. So please join us here at John Wesley. John Wesley, 1615 14th Street. There's some flyers out. Take a picture of the flyers. Be reminded, next Jumah. There's also some information about the dates that will be here at Holy Redeemer. We're going to take our time on this next announcement because this is very serious. Ceasefire and humanitarian assistance. We continue to witness an unbearable human tragedy as Gaza has become the deadliest place for civilians in the world. The World Food Program is already warning that the threat of famine in Gaza is inevitable. With the ongoing attacks and restrictions on humanitarian relief, a catastrophe, lack of food in Gaza means that families are going for days without a meal. 2.2 million people, the entire population of Gaza. The entire population of Gaza is experiencing food insecurity at crisis level or above. Some 1.7 million Palestinians, nearly 80% of the population, are estimated to be internally displaced, with many having been displaced multiple times. They are forced to shelter in schools, hospitals, UN facilities, and the cardboard boxes without basic supplies or sanitation. On top of this, a lack of fuel for water desalination has left 95% of Gaza's population without access to safe water, increasing the risk of diseases like cholera. The UN says that since the start of the war, about 100,000 people in Gaza have been killed, injured, or missing. More than half are women and children. Hostilities in Gaza and Israel have created appalling human suffering, physical destruction, and collective trauma across Israel and the occupied Palestinian territory. The international community has a responsibility to use all its influence to prevent further escalation and end this crisis. And that's a statement by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. We at Masjid Muhammad, the nation's mosque, call for a sustained ceasefire, release of all hostages, avoidance of collective punishment, allowing humanitarian across and compliance with international humanitarian laws and norms established to protect civilians, facilitate safe medical and humanitarian passage across to care. Tomorrow, shared distribution. I think most of those who engage with it has been notified. We will be here. Distribution starts at 10:30. Workers report at 9 o'clock. That's here in the library at Holy Redeemer. Judge Hassan has already stated that there's a general community members meeting this Sunday, February 18th. This is the first community meeting of this year. So please be in attendance. Go online and check out virtually how you should access the virtual Zoom information. You mentioned the Clara ribbon cutting, where we will also be holding Jumah. Now that's the 8th. We will also be holding Jumah here. For those who won't be reporting there, we will be here as well. So we are growing. That is evidence that we are growing and we need to expand. Side Tech, Family Winter Extravaganza, February 17th, 10 to 1. Please go online and check out that information. Study Al-Islam, February 18th, Living in Turbulent Times During Ramadan, Protecting Our Mind, Body, and Soul, Dr. Mikhail Ramadan, Emergency Medicine Specialist, Clinton, Indiana. Okay, there's been a sold-out activity, so if you've missed the registration for the Village Auntie, which is Sunday, February 18th, 5 to 8, it'll be at Busboy and Poet, but it's sold out. Also, Master Muhammad is pleased to present the Pillar of Water. Sheila D. Brown, JD, guest speaker. Please go online and register for this event, Sunday, February 25th, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. We invite you to hear an urgent message about water readiness and emergency preparedness during uncertain time. It is a workshop, emergency preparedness workshop. Please come out and listen to the key. It is a virtual program, so please tune into virtually to this program on the 25th of February. March 2nd, I know Judge Hassan has said this, Councilman Dr. Yusuf Salam, headlines fundraiser. We are a community on the move and in action, and building move, and staying the course. Please join us for our upcoming pre-Ramadan fundraising luncheon event with New York Councilman Dr. Yusuf Salam. This event is on Saturday, March 2nd at 1 p.m. He will be addressing the theme, breaking barriers, building futures, being silent is not an option. Our renovation of and a new addition, construction to our historic Massachusetts property has begun. Tickets for this fundraising event sale for $125. Grab a table while it lasts. Okay, $125. Soulful Museum, Muslim and the Banneker Foundation, Judge Hassan mentioned this as well, supporting one another. Image the future of Islamic Centered Education, Saturday, March 9th, 7 to 10 p.m., Martin's Crosswind. And finally, well, no, there's somebody else here. Marriage Committee wants you to know that get ready, April 26th to the 28th, $200 deposit. Celebrate marriage, come to Cool Front with a couples retreat. Now, finally, give. Many ways to give. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, website, Amazon, including sending the mail to Master Muhammad, 1505 4th Street, Northwest. Assalamu alaikum.
1505 12th Street?
Northwest.
1505
4th Street.
4th Street. I thought you were talking about the we go next week.
It sounded like it was repeating itself.
Oh, yeah, he was saying something about the mic. Yeah, they had a mic. Okay. Oh, this is it.
But it's beautiful, isn't it?
It is, especially the way that you recited it. It was like, man, I gotta find out what song that is. That's nice.
Yeah, that's why I had